Russia has threatened to use nuclear weapons over 100 times. Russia no longer has any restrictions on deploying nukes. This threat from the Kremlin was issued on August 5, 2025. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said,
Russia considers itself entitled to take appropriate measures if necessary.
Russia's foreign ministry had issued a statement on August 4th. It said Moscow no longer considers itself bound by previous restrictions. It referred to missiles with a range between 500 and 5,500 kilometers. This is only the latest in a long series of Russian nuclear saber-rattling. Since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, these threats have become common. Several dozen have been issued over the last 3 years. But the tradition actually goes back to 1999. That was when President Boris Yeltsin first played the nuclear card. After the US criticized Russia's war in Chechnya, he said,
Clinton allowed himself to pressurize Russia yesterday. He must have forgotten for a moment what Russia is. We have a full arsenal of nuclear weapons.
In 2008, Putin first threatened Ukraine. At the time, Kyiv was considering hosting a US early warning radar. Putin's response was,
It's horrible to say, and even horrible to think that in response to the deployment of such facilities in Ukrainian territory, which cannot theoretically be ruled out, Russia could target its missile systems at Ukraine.
The following year, Russia issued a similar warning to Poland. In 2014, Putin invaded eastern Ukraine and annexed Crimea. The White House threatened sanctions. In response, Kremlin mouthpiece Dmitry Kiselyov said on TV,
Russia is the only country in the world that is realistically capable of turning the United States into radioactive ash.
In 2015, Russia lashed out at Denmark. Denmark was planning to join NATO's missile defense system. The Russian ambassador to Denmark, Mikhail Vanin, commented,
If that happens, Danish warships will be targets for Russian nuclear missiles.
In 2018, Putin urged Europe to refuse to host American missiles.
European countries that agree to host them, if things go that far, must understand that they are putting their own territory at risk of a possible counterstrike.
A year later, he directly threatened the US.
Russia will be forced to create and deploy types of weapons, which can be used not only in respect of those territories from which the direct threat to us originates, but also in respect of those territories where the centers of decision-making are located.
It might sound like Putin wants a new Cuban Missile Crisis. In fact, he said he'd welcome it back in 2019. Commenting on tensions between Moscow and Washington, he said,
They are not a reason to ratchet up confrontation to the levels of the Cuban Missile Crisis in the 1960s. In any case, that's not what we want. If someone wants that, well, okay, they are welcome. Let them count the missile flight times.